Good morning, my dear students. I am Professor K. Mageshwari, Department of English, KCS Kansinadar College of Arts and Science. In literary theory, today we are going to talk about I.A. Richards. I.A. Richards is a pioneer of the decontextualized approach to literature. Actually, this approach became the norm in Britain from the 1930s to the 1970s as practical criticism. It was labeled as New Criticism in America in the same period. But the approach is the same, which means it has a basic approach called close reading that we have already seen through the writers like Matthew Arnold. And when Matthew Arnold adapted, otherwise advocated this theory, he didn't term it, he didn't label it, but it was labeled in such a way as practical criticism only in the later part of 20th century. Richard's experiments in the 1920s of presenting students and tutors resulted this theory. Actually, when he was a tutor in the university, one of his own famous student was William Empson that we have already seen. He has brought out the famous critical work called Seven Types of Ambiguity. Okay. So in his own teaching career, he tried practical criticism. In what way? Let us see. He has given the poems of the writers whose name were not given to the students as well as tutors. He tried to bring out the practical criticism through those people. He didn't give any interpretation to that, which means before analyzing, otherwise, before giving comments about the particular poetic work, the students and the tutors did not have any pre notion at all about the work. They did not have any prior knowledge about the work. So, it intended to bring out a true judgment. Here we can make use of the word true judgment, which is almost equal to that of Matthew Arnold's touchstone method, which means when the reader reads a particular work without having any sort of a prior idea or the notion, the first hand critical opinion seems to be a greater one. What is certain is that this decisive Richardian moment established a track one that we call it as a close reading, which results in practical criticism. Actually, while those tutors as well as students were given anonymous poems to be given commentary, they did not have any idea about that. So, this first hand knowledge resulted what is the exact opinion of the interpreter or the critic or the reader. So, this resulted in establishing practical criticism. Actually, in the beginning of 20th century, there were two types of tracks. One is idea based and another one is text based. Idea based, it is nothing but talking about the structure of the particular work. And text based, it is nothing but the result of close reading. At the end of 20th century, especially at the end of 1970s, this practical criticism became as the one and only criticism, and it resulted as a selective amnesia of the critic, making to forget all the other aspect. So, however, this practical criticism, paved way for the other critical theories during the beginning of the 20th century. We have to know how this practical criticism began. So, now let us trace the track of criticism from Aristotle. Aristotle's Poetics talks about nature of literature itself. It does not talk about literature, it talks about the nature of literature. Next, Sir Philip Sidney. He wrote Apology for Poetry. Here he talks about literature, which means the aim of Sidney was a revolutionary one, to distinguish literary forms from other types of writing. This is the second development in critical theory. And next to Sidney, we can have Johnson. Johnson was the first one who started to concentrate on individual writer as well as individual writing. So this is the third stage which we can find in liberal humanism, otherwise how theory was before theory was born. Okay. Next to Johnson, we can have the romantic critics like Wordsworth, Coleridge, Keats and Shelley. Both Wordsworth and Coleridge, they wanted to make poetic language to be of a prose. Keats has a viewpoint of unconsciousness in bringing out the greatness of a poet. Next, Shelley. Shelley has a viewpoint of aesthetic effect. So this aesthetic effect, it is nothing but finding pleasure in everything, which means the poet has to be very much objective in seeking pleasure in whatever he looks at. In the Romantic period, we have the works like Preface to Lyrical Ballads and Biographia Literaria. Preface to Lyrical Ballads, it talks about the importance of prose language in poetic, which means having the high as well as popular language. And Biographia and Literaria talks about the language of poetry is needed to enjoy the mood, otherwise to bring about the emotion. And when you go for our own Keats, his one negative capability got the attention of the critics during that period, which means the capacity of the greatest interest of the writers to follow a vision of artistic beauty, even if it leads them into intellectual confusion, which means the writers may go to any extents, which means the extent may be like confusing them, otherwise a myth, otherwise the world of uncertainties, they are ready to go in order to follow their own vision. And Shelley, as we have already talked, he had his own aesthetic effect. Okay. This is about our own romantic criticism. Next to romantic criticism, the theory has got development in two tracks. One is practical criticism, which is text based as a result of close reading, and another one is idea based. This text based one was followed by F.R. Lewis, Matthew Arnold. This idea based was followed by the writers like Sidney, Wordsworth, Coleridge, George Eliot and Henry James. And in the 1920s, close reading was getting popularity. People started to go away from materialism and Philistinism. So this practical criticism got famous through Matthew Arnold's touchstone method. So how he has used his own touchstone method? The thing is, he wanted to use the old writers, otherwise the great masters, poetic lines in order to measure the quality of contemporary writers. This is about our own practical criticism. And in the next one, there were four writers who got famous. They are F.R. Lewis, T.S. Eliot, William Emerson, and I.A. Richards. Among all the three, except T.S. Eliot, all the three are from Cambridge University. Now let's talk about T.S. Eliot. The theories of T.S. Eliot seem to be controversial, but his ideas are great. They are dissociation of sensibility, poetic impersonality, and objective correlatives. So, these are the theories advocated by T.S. Eliot. However, in the later period, T.S. Eliot clarified as well as denied his own theories. It was like a beginning for the other theories in the later part of critical theory development. Next, we have seen F.R. Lewis. F.R. Lewis, however, he is a follower of Matthew Arnold. He has not taken the old writers for granted like Matthew Arnold. Sometimes he spoiled the reputation of the greatest writers by writing a prose, otherwise the critical comments on them. So, from F.R. Lewis, the practical criticism got its own development. Next, we can talk about Empson and I.A. Richards. So, these two can be called as a pair, and the work of Empson, that is 7 types of ambiguity, it tries to clarify the ambiguity which is existing in the language, because the language ambiguity may cause in literary ambiguity also. So, in order to eliminate the literary ambiguity, eliminating language ambiguity was mandatory one. So, that was a famous one. So, a word cannot be looked in isolation, because once it is placed in a context, it has got its own meaning. So, that is a concept which is explained in 7 types of ambiguity. The next one, otherwise the last phase in the theory before the theory, was I.A. Richards, that is practical criticism in Britain or new criticism in America. So, with this, the liberal humanism ends, which means the critical theories of all the theories which were there before the named theories were born.